Rhea Calder clipped the last support strut of her repair drone into place and wiped her grease-smudged palms on the leg of her overalls. Through the viewport of the maintenance pod, she watched the colossal alien's massive jaw, a cavernous maw lined with opalescent fangs, open and close in a rhythmic, almost breathing motion. The creature's bioluminescent veins glowed in shifting bands of teal and violet, illuminating the void around Vortign's moonless horizon. "Okay, girl," Rhea murmured to her drone, voice crackling over the comm. "Let's get this done before it decides to bite again." A distant voice buzzed in her ear. Admiral Jareem, his tone taut with anxiety. "Calder? Status?" She tightened a coupling bolt. "Hull seems secured. I've reinforced the aft plating and attached tow lines. Ready on your mark." Jareem hesitated. "You've only got one shot at this. If the beast clamps down—" "I know," she cut him off, her gaze locked on the freighter trapped between two of the creature's enormous teeth. The aging vessel had drifted too close, engaged its autopilot, and the beast, mistaking metal for the wreckage it normally consumed, had swallowed half the hull. "Mark," she said, voice steady dotted her command. The shipyard's tug ship activated its tractor beam. Invisible tendrils of force latched onto the freighter's reinforced steel. Rhea engaged the drone's thrusters, counterbalancing the pull as she watched the vessel inch free from the jaws. For a moment, the giant alien remained still, as if contemplating. Then, with a sound like 10,000 collapsing stars, it closed its jaws further, grinding metal against bone. Rhea's heart pounded as the vibration rattled her pod. "Hold. Steady," she yelled, fingers dancing over the controls to adjust the beam's frequency. Sparks erupted where the tow cable scraped against enamel-like folds of the beast's flesh. Outside, the freighter groaned, a tortured metal wail that echoed in the void. The tug's beam flickered under the strain. Rhea inhaled sharply and boosted power to her drone's thrusters, pushing back against the jaws. A sudden gap opened. The freighter slid free, its aft section slipping past the last fang. The tug ship's beam intensified and yanked the vessel backwards. Rhea felt the pod lurch, then settle as the immediate danger passed. Behind her, the Condor alien released a low, resonant rumble, a sound that reverberated through the station structure and set every loose panel jangling. The creature's huge eye, gleaming with intelligence, swung toward her pod. Rhea met its gaze for a heartbeat, unsure whether it understood her actions. Then the beast let out a gurgling roar and drew its head back into the swirling mists of cosmic kelp that carpeted its back. Within seconds, it vanished from sight, leaving only drifting bioluminescent spores in its wake. The station's announcer chimed in relief. "All clear. Freighter Omega-12 is secure, thanks to Rhea Calder." Rhea exhaled, loosening her grip on the controls. "Copy that. Get me a docking corridor and triple-check those life support diagnostics. That ship's been through hell." A drone retracted its tethers, and she guided it back into the pod's bay, pausing to study one of the fallen fangs, smooth, curved, and the size of an armored transport. Even dislodged, it thrummed with residual energy. Docking bay lights glowed ahead as the tug ship guided the freighter towards safe harbor. Rhea unbuckled her harness and floated free in the pod's cabin, adrenaline still coursing through her veins. She allowed herself a brief, triumphant smile. Out there somewhere in the void, the giant guardian drifted on. And though the galaxy wasn't ready for beings of such magnitude and mystery, Rhea Calder had just proven that where there's grease on her hands and grit in her heart, no challenge was too colossal. The repair bay's bright lights faded behind Rhea as she maneuvered the maintenance pod toward the freighter's ruptured hull. Emergency thrusters nudged her alongside the jagged hole where metal had torn open. Beyond the jagged edges lay living, tissue-slick, undulating walls pulsing with life. She keyed her comm. "Control, I'm going in. I'll be XB. Static swallowed her words as she sealed the pod's hatch and engaged the external magnetic clamps. A hiss of displaced atmosphere marked the moment she breached into the creature's interior. The pod's headlights pierced the gloom, revealing a vast tunnel lined with bioluminescent fungus that glowed from violet to emerald in organic gradients. Mist, thick with spores, drifted in gravity-neutral swirls. Ria's boots touched the fleshy floor, each step sinking slightly into soft ridges. The air smelled faintly of ionized metal and something sweet like burnt honey. She activated her translator implant and spoke aloud. "This is Mechanic Calder of the freighter Omega-12. I come seeking safe passage and repairs." From the shadows, dozens of slender figures emerged. They hovered on spindly limbs, their chitinous carapaces reflecting the fungus's glow. Compound eyes fixed on her, multifaceted and curious. One step forward, its antennae quivering. Ria held her hands up in a non-threatening gesture. Her translator crackled before emitting chirps and whistles. "Surface dweller," the creature intoned in Ria's ear. "You trespass in the Heartway. Few have entered, fewer returned. Why disturb the sacred folds of our guardian?" Swallowing a racing pulse, Ria knelt before the elder. "Your guardian saved me from disaster," she said. "But in freeing my ship, I damaged its throat. I seek to understand how to heal what I harmed." The elder paused, bioluminescence flaring brighter as it processed her words. Around them, the fungus pulsed in slow unison, as if listening. After a tense heartbeat, the elder bowed its head. "Follow us, healer of metal. Each path you walk will test your purpose. Only then may you speak to the creature's heart." Guided by flickering fungal beacons, Ria followed the throat dwellers deeper into the labyrinth. Passageways branched like nerves, each lined with vessels carrying luminescent plasma. She watched them stop before a ridge of exposed tissue, where tiny workers tended to wounds with tendrils of bioalloy. "They sew with living metal," one throat dweller explained, "and feed the guardian's strength with these grafts." It offered Ria a vial of glowing fluid. "Drink so you may learn its rhythm." Trusting her instincts, she sipped. Warmth spread through her veins, tethering her senses to the creature's. She felt its ancient memories, starfalls witnessed, battles endured, kindnesses offered and received. The labyrinth was not merely its throat. It was a living record. When the warmth subsided, Ria found herself standing before an immense chamber where the flesh curved upward like cathedral arches. At its center lay a yawning wound, the raw edge leaking luminescent plasma. Around her, the throat dwellers chanted in harmonic clicks, their light patterns dancing across the vaulted walls. Drawing her toolkit from her belt, Ria set to work. First, she cleaned the edges of the tier, her gloved hands moving deftly despite the living flesh's subtle movements. Then she applied strands of bioalloy, fusing them with tiny turbines that hummed as they knitted tissue to metal. The grafts glowed where they bonded, sealing the wound's depths. As the final turbine spun to life, a low vibration coursed through the chamber, and the entire labyrinth seemed to exhale. The fungus glowed a joyous green. The throat dwellers clicked in celebration, and Ria felt a gentle surge, a heartbeat, resonating through the floor under her boots. Exhausted but exhilarated, she stood among proud alien faces and realized she hadn't just repaired metal or flesh, she bridged two worlds. And somewhere deep inside the giant guardian, a spark of gratitude began to glow. The victory inside the guardian's throat still hummed through Ria's bones as she returned to the freighter, only to be met by red flashing lights and the shrill wail of warning sirens. Life support was failing. Systems overloaded by plasma. Contamination from the grafts. Oxygen levels were dropping fast. "Control, do you copy?" Ria barked into her comm, racing down the corridor toward the engineering bay. The station's comms crackled in response, distant and strained. Calder, we're detecting a peer breach pirate fleet just dropped out of hyperspace on the far side of Vortig 9. They're targeting you and the Guardian. Her jaw tightened. Pirates marauded these sectors, hunting for the Biocore treasures that creatures like the giant Guardian carried in their hearts. If they reached the beast before she could stabilize it fully, it would be butchered for parts, and countless worlds would lose a living wonder. Rhea yanked open the engineering hatch. Sparks danced as exposed conduits leaked violet plasma. She plucked her multi-tool and set to work rerouting power from auxiliary tanks. Every second counted. Beyond the hull, the freighter's external speakers boomed as pirate fire swooped in, unleashing ion blasts that rattled the station's metal framework in the heart chamber of the beast. The wound she'd sealed earlier throbbed with residual energy enough to overload a standard fusion reactor. If she could tap into that energy safely, she could not only power life support, but reinforce the graphs permanently. But doing so required delivering emergency power cells directly into the creature's artery chambers under fire. I'm going back in, she told Control. Suit up a drone with shields and escort me. Minutes later, she piloted a shielded pod through the torn hull to the central vein. Pirate plasma fire streaked past, scorching the creature's flank. The Guardian shuddered in pain, its roar echoing like thunder across the vacuum. Rhea felt the vibration through her suit's stabilizers. She secured 3 high-capacity power modules along the rib-like supports and locked her pod's clamps. Wincing as shrapnel smacked the pod's armor, she unlatched the first cell and connected it to the exposed artery. Plasma surged outward, mingling with the module's energy, causing a brilliant flash that briefly blinded her visor. When the light subsided, the graph she'd placed weeks ago glowed steadily, the tissue knitting around the module seamlessly. 1 down, 2 to go. The second cell clicked into place with far less drama, and the Guardian's pulse steadied. Last one, Rhea muttered as alarms blared in her ear. A pirate frigate doving close, its gun spitting death. Rhea jammed the final cell into the widening wound and slammed her pod into reverse. The module locked home just as the frigate's cannons fired. There was a deafening crunch as a massive tail swept across the pirate ship, shearing off its bow and sending it spinning into the void. The Guardian's strength, now fully restored, unleashed in a single titanic motion, an upsurge of bioluminescent energy that rippled outward, frying targeting systems and disabling every pirate craft within range. In the aftermath, silence reigned. Drifting debris twinkled against the nebula's glow. Inside her pod, Rhea pantomimed, checking vital signs. The life support indicator climbed back into the green. She exhaled, hands trembling as she released her clamps and drifted free. Above her, the Guardian's massive throat carapace shimmered. The wound was sealed completely. The artery grafts fused indistinguishably with living flesh. The beast's head tilted down, its enormous eye reflecting relief, and she dared hope gratitude. Copy. That? She whispered to Control. Loud and clear came the odd reply. The pirates are in retreat. You saved it. Rhea nodded, though no one could see. We saved each other. As she guided the pod back toward the station, the Guardian exhaled once more, sending a gentle storm of spores that gleamed like stardust. Deep in its heart, the machinery of metal and flesh had found new harmony, and with it, Rhea Calder had forged an unbreakable bond that would change the fate of the galaxy forever. The nebula's phosphorescent mists danced around the gargantuan form of the Guardian as it drifted into repose, its immense body half submerged in swirling cosmic fog. Rhea floated beside the sealed breach where her final graft had healed seamlessly, the artery modules now beating in time with the creature's steady pulse. Around them, the throat dwellers emerged in a living procession, their bioluminescent carapaces tracing intricate patterns across the Guardian's silken skin. "Mechanic Calder," the Elder called, its voice resonating in her calm like a melodic chord. "You have restored what was wounded, and in doing so, bound our fates together. Accept this gift, a symbol of our eternal bond." From a cluster of cavernous pouches under its thorax, the Elder produced a crystalline gem no larger than Rhea's fist. Its interior flickered with imprisoned plasma, a microcosm of the Guardian's life force. The Heartstone pulsed gently in, the Elder's grasp casting prismatic arcs of light across the nebulous fog. Rhea unhooked the gem on a silver tether. "What power does this hold?" she asked, awed. "This is our Heartstone," the Elder explained. "It grants a calling. When the Guardian is in peril, it will heed your plea. But remember, the cost is your promise to protect us all, for our lives are intertwined." She slipped the Heartstone into a reinforced pocket in her suit, feeling its warmth seep through the layers of alloyed fabric. A jolt of energy coursed up her spine, synchronizing her very heartbeat with that of the sleeping behemoth. Above them, the Guardian's enormous eyelids fluttered before sealing shut. The great beast exhaled a plume of glowing spores that drifted skyward like a burst of celestial fireworks. In their luminescence, Rhea sensed memories, stellar nurseries brimming with nascent worlds, supernovas searing through the void, and once a lonely wanderer who had named the creature Arethian. Beside her, the freighter Omega-12's engines had been repaired, its hull polished and gleaming. Admiral Jareem stood on the docking platform, arms raised in salute. "Calder, report." She activated her comm. "Mission complete. The Guardian is healed, and its bond is ours to keep." A hush fell over the docking bay as Jareem stepped forward, eyes fixed on the distant silhouette of Arethian. "I never thought I'd see the day a living starship of flesh and light." "What now?" Rhea unhooked her harness and drifted free, gaze locked on the Guardian's sleeping form. "Now we forge a new era. One where we don't simply harvest the wonders of the galaxy, we protect them." As she spoke, the Heartstone at her side glowed brighter, casting a halo of light around her. The Throat Dwellers hovered above, their clicking chorus echoing in celebration. Even the swirling mists of the nebula seemed to part, revealing distant galaxies beyond. Below, Admiral Jareem beamed. "Then let's get you home, Mechanic. We've got a universe to tell." Rhea nodded, heart full. She climbed into Omega-12's cockpit, Heartstone clutched in her palm. The engines ignited in a soft hum, and the freighter began its ascent. From her viewport, she watched Arethian's vast form shrink into the phosphorescent haze, the gentle rise and fall of its breathing echoing like a lullaby. As the freighter slipped into hyperspace, Rhea allowed herself a rare moment of peace. Ahead lay a galaxy brimming with mysteries, worlds waiting to be discovered, creatures to be protected, and alliances yet to be forged. With Arethian as their silent guardian and the Heartstone's light as their guide, humanity's future among the stars had never been brighter. And somewhere far beyond the nebula's edge, a legend was just beginning.